Okay, we're going to start quadratics by taking square roots with steps. This is the fourth one in this series, quadratic by taking square roots. So this is our fourth video for this. I haven't looked at this one. I don't think I've ever done this one. Oh, okay. So we're going to choose which steps we want to do first, okay? So create a list of steps in order that will solve the following equation. All right, so what we have to remember, this is the way I learned it, but you may have learned it BEMDAS or BODMAP. I think that's a D. BODMAP, one of these two. If you learned anything like this, it's basically the same. This is parentheses or braces or brackets or something like that. This is exponents, and that includes roots, because roots are just fractional exponents. You need to remember that this is multiply and divide, but these are the same step, even though they look like they're in order, they're actually the same step. And add and subtract are the same step. And when we solve, we want to go up in order to isolate. Isolate, that means get by itself. We want to isolate the variable. We want to get the variable by itself. Because, you know, what in the end, what do we want? We want something that looks like x equals blah, blah. Okay, so we want to isolate that variable. So our first thing down here is add and subtract. So we're going to add or subtract this 5. We have to add a 5. It's subtracting 5, so we have to add a 5. So here we go. That's our first step. Add 5 to both sides. So I'm going to put this over here. 2 times x plus 2 quantity squared minus 5 is equal to 93. And we're going to add 5 to both sides. And that's going to give us 2 times x plus 2 quantity squared is equal to 98. All right, and then what are we going to do next? We're going to move up here and multiply or divide, and we're outside the parentheses. We didn't get to parentheses yet. We're outside the parentheses, so we're going to have to divide by 2. And here's that step. Divide both sides by 2. There it is. And we're going to end up with x plus 2 quantity squared is equal to 49. What are we going to do next? We're going to move up this. We're going to do the exponent. We're going to get rid of the exponent. We'll take the square root of both sides. So where is that? Take the square root of both sides. We'll end up with 2 equations. X plus 2 is equal to positive 7, and x plus 2 is equal to negative 7. And then we're going to have to subtract 2 from both sides. We'll start down here on the bottom after we break those parentheses. Okay, so here we go. Subtract 2 from both sides. And then we should have solved the problem. Okay, let me get rid of this. I'm going to make a really ugly, yeah, exactly. All right, so we're going to start with here 2 times x plus 3/4 squared minus 5 is equal to 123. So what are we going to do first? We're going to start down here, and we're going to add 5 to both sides. So do I have add 5 to both sides? Yes, I do. So now we have 2 times x plus 3/4 quantity squared is equal to 128. We're going to move up here. Well, multiply or divide. We're going to divide both sides by 2. We have that. Divide both sides by 2. X plus 3/4 quantity squared is equal to 64. And now what do I want to do? We want to move up again. I'm going to do the exponent. This is a square, so I want to take the square root. We have that. Square both sides. I don't want to do that. Take the square root of both sides. X plus 3/4 is equal to positive or negative 8. I'm not going to split this up. Normally we'd split that up, but we don't have to actually solve it. The next thing we're going to do is start back down on the bottom. We broke up these parentheses, so we're going to start back down on the bottom. We're going to add and subtract. Subtract 3/4 from both sides. Subtract 3/4 from both sides. Okay, let me get rid of this one. Okay. Now we have 5 times x minus 3 squared plus 4 is equal to 129. So we're going to start down here on the bottom, add and subtract. We have to say outside the parentheses, right? Parentheses off limits, we can't use those. So we're going to add and subtract. We'll subtract 4 from both sides. Do we have that? Subtract 4 from both sides. Yes, we do. Okay, we're going to end up with 5 x minus 3 quantity squared is equal to 125. And move up, and then we want to multiply or divide. We have this 5 over here. We want to divide by 5, divide both sides by 5. And we're going to get x minus 3 quantity squared is equal to 25. Oops, 25, and I wrote 20. So here, did we have that second one? Divide both sides by 5. We've got that. And we're going to move up again. We're going to do the exponents. And it's square, so we'll take the square root of both sides. X minus 3 is equal to 25. Can be positive 5 or negative 5. Positive 5 times positive 5 is 25. Negative 5 times negative 5 is 25. So then we'll take the square root of both sides. And the last thing we're going to do is add 3 to both sides. But I'm not going to figure that out because we don't have to do that. And there we go. All right, we have one more question here. You guys should be figuring this out. This works the same way every time. So create a list of steps in order that will solve the following equation. Let's do this. 1/2 x plus 5 quantity squared plus 2 is equal to 42.5. Okay, so I'm going to start down here at the bottom, add and subtract. I have this 2 over here. I want to subtract 2 from both sides. I'm going to end up with 1/2 x plus 5 quantity squared is equal to 40.5. I subtracted 2 from both sides. That's my first step. And now I have this 1/2. We're going to move up here to multiply and divide. I have 1/2, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. I could say I'm dividing by 1/2. That's the same thing. Times 2 and times 2, okay? So now I have x plus 5 quantity squared is equal to 81. So multiply. Where's my multiply both sides by 2? We could say divide by 1/2, but they don't have that. They're multiply. So, and we're going to move up again and go to the exponents. We have our square here, so we'll take the square root of both sides. X plus 5 is equal to positive 9 or negative 9. 9 times 9 is 81. Negative 9 times negative 9 is also 81. So here I'm taking the square root of both sides. And the last thing I have to do is, what is it? We broke those parentheses, so we're going to go all the way back down here and start again. And we're going to subtract 5 from both sides. Okay, that is quadratics by taking square roots with steps. I hope that helps you solve the problems.